can be considered a love letter as well to something a bit different, but hopefully you'll identify it. This piece is called Mercury Retrograde. Last night, I dreamt that I was getting back together with my ex. Most of my dreams have no clear logic or source behind them, a scramble of misplaced events that form a chronology that is barely chronological. Most dreams I dream are a mesh of colors, emotions, and people that I could never place the meaning of. This dream, however, the meaning is crystal clear. It's obvious why I dreamt that I was getting back together with him. It's because Mercury is in retrograde. Mercury retrograde, as the astrology girlies on Instagram tell me, is a time to go inwards. The past comes back to the present. When people come back into your life, unresolved issues come up, and we fall into miscommunications and weirdness. This astro-influencer woman on Instagram told me this last night while I was doom scrolling in her bed. And she ended by telling me explicitly to not text my ex. And don't worry, I won't. Now, was that the reason why I had this dream? Maybe. Probably, yes. But does the roundaboutness of it make astrology any less real? Who's to say? Do I want to get back together with my ex? No, I haven't even thought about him at all. Except for when I pass his house, which I do every day on my way to work, and every day on my way back to work. And also when I take a different route to work and I pass his office. But other than that, he never crosses my mind. Other than also when I go to certain stores, cafes, and bars around my neighborhood. Because after we broke up, I moved close to where he used to live when we first started going out. So these stores, cafes, and bars were places that he first took me to. Yet now I feel like they should be my own. So yes, I guess I do think about it. How can I not? While I do my best to block out any thoughts and memories of him, the city holds them up for me, in front of me like a mirror. Sometimes I stare through the glass straight into my own mind. Most times, I avoid the reflection. This place lives and breathes memories and ghosts of feelings past. Not just of this one past relationship, but so many parts of my life story. The cafe I first went to when I was new in town. The bookshop I sheltered in on a rainy day. And the store where I bought an umbrella which I promptly lost again. The restaurant I went to when there was a storm and no other place was open. Other restaurants and brunch places where I went to on romantic and less romantic dates. That club where I had a huge fight with my ex and ruined my friend's night. The bar where I bonded with came to be friends. The museums I spent my Sundays in when I didn't know that many people yet. The bridges I walked over, overwhelmed with over thoughts. The bench where I had a heartbreaking conversation, or where I sat in the setting sun contemplating what to do next. The park where I spent sunny days with a book. The late night shops I went in sleepless nights and drunken nights alike. The canals I sailed, amazed at how the loss of ground under your feet can make you feel so grounded. The city holds my memories for me. It tucks them away like books on a shelf, but forming an intricate four-dimensional maze instead of an orderly library. Memories I can check out to read, or just raise my fingers while passing. If I scavenge through the city, I could find all the books that together write my story of the past years. Yet it doesn't do that just for me. For how many people has this city served as a backdrop, scenery, secondary character too? How many people have their memories intertwined with the streets, parks, bridges, shops, cafes, and other spots in the city? How many friendships formed and broken, new relationships, heartbreaks, tears, laughs, soul-bonding experiences, ego-crushing conversations has this place been witness to? Just as my memories have taken root in so many places around town, so have the memories of anyone who has lived here for a short time or a lifetime, and anyone who has visited, who has asked the city to hold on to some of theirs. I wonder sometimes as I sit somewhere around these streets, and as my feelings pour into the red bricks, how many others have done the same and will do it still. I marvel at how strong this city is to hold so many emotions and remembrances for us. I wonder if the foundations are sinking deeper, breaking under the weight not just of bricks, cars and buildings and people, but also because of all the baggage it's carrying for us. Both the baggage that fits in a suitcase and the baggage that doesn't. Mostly the one that doesn't. Perhaps the city will break at some point under the weight of our collective fragile sensitivities. And if you look at this place like that, like not just a setting of so many moments, but also as a keeper and guardian of them, this collection of brick, concrete, wood, and metal becomes a living, breathing, ancient and wise old troll who moves and evolves ever so slowly, but never forgets a single experience that was lived on its body. But if the city is a living thing, how can we possibly think of it as only a backdrop and a maybe librarian? If it is a living being, which it is, the city is also a character, an influence, a puppeteer in our lives, pulling our invisible strings, nudging us one way or another, giving us its opinions, whether solicited or unsolicited. The troll that carries our collective consciousness manipulates our unconsciousness too. In its own indiscernible language, it's sending us messages, speaking to us, molding our lives. They say great cities attract ambitious people. We've seen it all over the world and all over history. Florence attracted artists and philosophers and scientists in the Renaissance. Paris attracted painters and artists throughout its history. Amsterdam attracted merchants. St. Petersburg attracted poets and novelists. Vienna musicians, composers, and dancers. In his article called Cities and Ambition, Paul Graham points out that it is no coincidence that so many Renaissance artists came from Florence, so many Impressionists out of Paris. Certain places, at certain points in time, attract certain people with certain ambitions. They flock to a place where there is already a hub of that je ne sais quoi. They find each other, inspire each other, develop ideas together, compete with each other, push boundaries, and launch movements. We've seen this phenomenon happen throughout history, but we may very well be living in such a moment and place. In many of these movements, the people living them and creating them were perhaps not aware of what they were a part of. They may have had a feeling, a vision, and an idea, but the full picture only comes into shape in hindsight. There is a temporal distance that is necessary to fully see the shaping, entangling, and resulting outcome of a movement curated. In the same article, Paul Graham argues that living in a great city draws out a specific ambition out of you. The city itself sends you messages. Your environment pushes you in some direction or another. He talks about the cities that he's lived in. New York pushes you to make money, Boston to value intelligence above all, Silicon Valley to has you seek out power, Paris to do everything in style. These are all movements specific to this time and age, and these cities have not always sent the same message. We are currently living in the times that in hindsight will become so clear. What movement are we currently living in this great city? Are we together creating something that Amsterdam will later be known for? Perhaps I'm too deep in close to the shaping of this movement to be aware of it. Or perhaps I'm too oblivious to see it. I feel like the city pulls me in different directions, sends me mixed messages. The troll that is this collection of brick, concrete, wood, and metal speaks in a tongue that I cannot understand. On the one hand, this city pushes me to be successful in a traditional sense, meaning a well-paying corporate job with opportunities to climb the corporate ladder so that I can maybe, at some point, afford a house. And in the meantime, afford to live lavishly. Lavishly as in being able to afford rent without having to live with people that I would rather kill. Meet basic needs like groceries and casual lunches, and enough left over to spend on cocktails and holidays. It also pushes me to want to couple up so that said rent, purchase, and holidays become cheaper. Yet I wonder if this is a message that Amsterdam itself is sending, or just the effect of living through late-stage capitalism. Another direction I seem pulled towards is to be freer and more creative, to look for communities and people my soul resonates with, to go to parties and dance all night, to stretch out the limits of my own mind on drug-induced highs, to date aimlessly, finding snippets of diverse connections, to explore spirituality and my connection to the stars, to write down the feelings I'm drowning in on pieces of paper and spread them in the wind. But if I look around Amsterdam, I see the decline of community spaces, the creative squatters having to start paying rent, the alternative crowds being pushed further and further west. In their stead, we're getting expensive copycats that lack the soul of the original. We get cafes and brunch places that could transport you to any other place in the Western world without you noticing. We get parties and so many festivals where you spend a huge chunk of your disposable income for only a few hours of feeling somewhat free of the shackles of daily life. We get art in closed, blue-lit spaces that you need to book a time slot for in advance just to witness it. So once again, I'm not sure if it is the city that is pulling me towards the freer Earth-child that I was born as, or if it's just the decline of community and spirituality in this Western globalizing of a society that makes me seek it out more. Where do my intentions, my desires, my visions start, and where does my environment come in? Am I even able to separate the two? The idea that great cities mobilize a great ambition, like the article says, is a mirror of what many psychologists say as well. Your environment, especially the people you are surrounded by, shape who you are, define what motivates you, what is important to you, and how you react to situations. The same way you pick up expressions and mannerisms from your friends, habits from your partner, tics from your coworkers, you also subconsciously pick up their views, their emotional reactions, their biases. And we do all of this without even realizing it, not even aware of what behaviors we are witnessing, much less which ones we are appropriating. And in big, busy places like cities, where you're never alone, ever connected to so many other people through the space you share with them, we are constantly detecting, absorbing, transforming, like one big complex system of inputs and outputs. So how can I ever say that I am me without saying that I am the city that I live in? Can I be separated from this troll of brick, concrete, wood, and metal that I live on? Or are we one and the same, pieces of a whole? Or am I just one individual of this collective, one living being within this ecosystem, like an ant in an anthill, a clownfish in a coral, a tree in a forest, a bacteria in someone's gut, with very little power over our own thoughts, emotions, ambitions, and desires? Is my sense of identity just an illusion, a story I tell myself so I feel I have more power over myself than I do? Perhaps that is why the messages of this city are not so clear to me. I am not a separate entity of the city, an independent listener. Perhaps I don't grasp what the city is telling me because I don't really know what I am in turn telling the city or what I'm telling myself. I don't really know which direction to go with my life, so all messages I receive from my surroundings are mixed. I'm like a radio antenna that picks up every frequency all at once. Perhaps I need to untangle the mess of cables inside this radio that is my brain before I can even begin to start decoding the signals sent to me by this great city. How do I wrap this up now? I called Amsterdam many things in this essay. A library of memories, a carrier of my emotional baggage, a character in my life, an ancient troll, a messenger with unclear messages, an ecosystem we are all a part of. For me, these are all true, yet none fully encompass what the city means to me. But I don't yet have a clear-cut analogy that neatly wraps it up. But by being all of these different things, the city has allowed me to be so many different things as well. To explore contradicting sides of myself, to be various people while still being me. It has allowed me to relive my early 20s while also letting me experience glimpses of my 30s still to come. To be pulled in different directions and bounce in between ideologies and idiosyncrasies. If the city is undecided and wonder what it is, why should I know who I am, or what I am, or how many I am? And as I write this under Mercury retrograde, which is not a time for clarity, definitions, and clear-cut answers, I can do nothing but embrace the chaos of multitudes. The energy in this transit is introspective, messy, filled with miscommunications and conflicts. I guess this is not the time to listen for clear messages. I will have to accept that whatever this city is telling me, I'm subconsciously absorbing and I'm somehow transforming without knowing what shape it is molding me in. Perhaps years from now, when I'm far gone from this place and I have a collection of more recent memories built somewhere else, this Amsterdam chapter I'm currently living will be neat, clear-cut, and identifiable. In hindsight, the contradictions and turmoil will all make sense within a frame. But now I'm too intertwined with this place to be able to see clearly, and retrograding into memories still too fresh to be considered history. And after all, what a beautiful thought it is that I'm so immersed in the city that I cannot separate it from myself. Thank you.
Simone, everyone!